Today we're talking about the film Akira, and it came out in the year, I believe it was 1988. Yes, I totally knew that, and I just blanked on it for a second. So it is from the country of Japan by the director Katsurio. Oh man, Katsurio Otomo. And an interesting tidbit behind this that I think a lot of people know about the film, if they know about the film, that it was based on a manga, as a lot of anime is. When they were making this film, they hadn't completed the entire manga up to that point, or the director, who was also the creator of the manga, hadn't completed it. They finished, or they had the story arc completed for this film, and then after that, he went back and he finished I believe it is 5 or 6 chapters in the series, but yeah, which is crazy. There's a lot of behind the scenes things of this film that are quite interesting. It's very much a landmark film from the research that I've done, and I've been wanting to watch it for so long, because I mean it's a sci-fi, it's a more gritty anime, and yeah, and I'm so glad I watched it. I loved it. It had a $5.5 million budget plus advertising, equaling about a $9 million budget. That budget made it the most expensive anime movie up until that point, I believe. It came out in theaters, which it did like $2 million worldwide, which isn't the whole budget, but it was released at a time where home video was just starting to be a big thing, so it saw over like $80 million in home video sales, which is crazy. But oh man, where do I start about this film? So, Akira, I didn't know what to expect, because I think everybody has seen that one iconic Akira shot with on the motorcycle. I think they call it the Akira slide, where he slides. Yeah, I don't think it was Tetsuo. I think it was Kanata. But yeah, everyone's seen that, and the main premise that I knew from just being shown certain like bits of media throughout my life were that it was kind of like gave me a Blade Runner vibe, where it was kind of a, neon futuristic-y Tokyo Japanscape with some maybe supernatural elements, but I wasn't 100% certain on that. But yeah, it felt very Blade Runner-y to me, and it got a lot more crazy than I thought it was going to be, with all the supernatural effects and just how morbid it is at the end. It was a lot darker than I was expecting, and I think, honestly, it was better than I expected, because I really, really dig the crazy body horror at the end, and the movies that deal with themes of destruction and nihilism and things like that. So that was awesome. So yeah, basically a short synopsis of the film is that after post-World War III Tokyo, based in 2019, the main characters Tetsuo and Kanata are part of they're kind of a part of a street gang, where they have those cool bikes that leave the fun light trails. In this time in Tokyo, there's a lot of conflict going on, and they run into the streets, and during their just normal time out, beating up random other members of bike gangs. Like, the first scene is just them going throughout the city, literally just beating up random people. They encounter a supernatural child, and Tetsuo gets injured. He is transported to the top secret government testing facility, where he is tested on, and he gains telekinetic powers. And from there, he kind of tries to grasp with those powers, but I don't want to say he has the urge to hurt people, but that's what he does when he gains these powers. He hurts a lot of people, and because the city had treated him so poorly before, even his friends he turns on, because he was kind of a punching bag in those friendships. And he kind of goes super crazy and uses those powers for evil, and eventually those powers get the best of him. He kind of sets off the next super explosion that kind of mirrors the beginning of the film, where you had the opening shot of an explosion, very reminiscent of an atomic bomb, which is very clearly the inspiration from, but at the end we can assume that it was Akira who started World War III in Tokyo in this story. That is a very, very simple navigation of that plot. There's so much more to it, and apparently in the manga there's so many side plots and everything, because in the movie, it's very clear that a lot of these side plots were more detailed in the source material than in this film. there's so many characters, like in the streets when we see these characters kind of having these gatherings. Like there's this one instance where there's a gathering on a street and they're like praising Akira, or just some sort of gathering revolving around him as kind of like a god. And you had this one woman who's kind of like very like oracle-ish, and I focused on her for a bit. Apparently she's a bigger character, and yeah, it just seems like a lot of the government agency guys, they had that round table, and all those characters seem to have more developed, or seem to be more to them than there was in this film. But still, I think this film did a very good job at cramming all of this content into this one piece of media. And yeah, I'll get more into the story later. We'll just talk about the characters for a bit. So the two main characters, Tetsuo and Kanada, they a lot of people I saw online, they meme how throughout the entire film they are just screaming each other's names a lot of the time. In the final showdown, they scream their names so many times when Tetsuo's getting kind of engulfed by his powers. He's screaming out to Kanada for help. Kanada's screaming back to him. Yeah, they do a lot of screaming each other's name. Oh, I should mention that I watched the not subbed, dubbed version. I watched the dubbed version. That was the only copy that I could really get my hands on easily. I do like watching subs a lot more, but honestly, this dubbed version of this film, it didn't stand out as anything bad. The dub in general, did not mind it. Thought it was pretty good. Of course, I'm not very deep into watching too many dubbed content that I can't really say how technically proficient it is, but I'm usually a sub guy. But hey, watch the dub one this time. So yeah, Tetsuo and Kanada. So first of all, Tetsuo. It's kind of hard to decipher who is the protagonist in this film. I would say Tetsuo personally, just because in the end, right at the end, he still has that line after he is supposedly not on the world anymore, that he is still living in some way or another. His character, and I feel like a few of the characters in this movie, get angry at people very easily. There were moments early, they like tell each other to shut up a lot. I don't know if that was just a translate, but they just like, whenever they're dealing with something themselves, they just tell their friends, even if there's people trying to help them, just, oh, shut up, go away. And it's very aggressive. But alas. Tetsuo, I was a character I really liked. There's a few things that I really liked with Tetsuo. One, I really liked the fever dreams that he has, kind of the hallucinations. The one that really stuck out to me was when he was in the testing facility, and you had all these toys, kind of like Toy Story, but a lot darker version of Toy Story, and merging into that giant teddy bear monster. That was great. I loved the one that like was the most visceral was when it had his guts spilling out onto the ground. I think that was when he was still on the street, and he was like trying to pick them up. Then it cut to a shot of him without the guts, and he's just clawing at the ground. That stuff I really liked. The hallucination stuff, that was great. Also with Tetsuo, the stuff at the end, of course, I loved him being engulfed in this flesh monster. Yeah, it's just his powers getting best of him, and that's just such a great visual way of doing that. But yeah, in general, Tetsuo played a great villain. This movie has very many comparisons to a film I really like called Chronicle. I think a lot of people have seen it. It's the found footage, kind of supernatural. Two friends, high school friends, go into the forest and gain supernatural abilities, and then Dane DeHaan, he was the one that is kind of using them for evil, and eventually bites the bullet in the end. But yeah, a lot of comparisons to that. Yeah, so Kanada as well. He's Tetsuo's friend, even though they're very much like frenemies, because Tetsuo, even though the minor discretions that Kanada, oh, you always picked on me before, I was always like, it's always what you want to do, he very much held that against him and tried to kill him many a times. But Kanada, he was a good character to follow. I think that his relationship with Kay was very weird. I think it's very much hasn't aged well, is the thing. He finds Kay and he notices her in multiple different areas and kind of snoops around to realize she was part of this organization, kind of this I don't want to say anti-government, just like this rebellion organization trying to stand up against the experiments that are going on. And his whole thing is like he's just trying to get with her, and that's why that he's following her around. It's like, oh yeah, we have something, right? And it's just, yeah, hasn't aged well. Little cringy, but in general, he was a fine character. And Kay as well. She was there to be his in to that organization. She was one of the main rebels who, like, they all kind of had they all had a very similar goal, and there's like not too much differentiating them. I think, who's that other one? Oh, he had a cool name, Ryu. He was one of the one of the rebels. I always just think of Super Smash Bros. There, but yeah, the rebels were cool. I don't really have too much to say about them. Then you have the Colonel, the leader, kind of the experiment. I don't know. I don't want to give them a name. It's like the experimental group. You had him and the mad scientist kind of in cahoots the whole time. And I did like the scenes where the Colonel, they're at like what you assume is the governing body of like Japan throughout that time. And he's in there. He's in that meeting. And then he's just like, oh, you guys all hate me now? All right, I'm going to go literally take over the world. And it's like, I didn't think it was going to be as drastic as it was. But no, he just took all of his super army, his super children and his army, and really just kind of destroyed the place, even more destroyed than it was before. And then the mad scientist was a typical mad scientist character. But yeah, I liked that visual. I didn't fully understand it, but I really liked the visual of the kind of the ring where it's like they're looking at maybe his like DNA or just like his powers. The visual of the ring thing was really cool. Be like, oh, I've never seen it like this before. Kind of like his midichlorians, you know? But didn't fully understand it, but I did like it. A few other characters. You have the 3 old kids, the supernatural babies. I don't know their names. I'm sure they had names, but I don't really remember. They were creepy in just the right way. When you have like the baby house or the baby room, when they say to Tetsuo, oh, don't let him get to the baby room. The baby room was super creepy, and I don't know why it's a baby room. Like, I was thinking about have they just been experimented on for so long that they're kind of aging like this? And then it's just like a side effect that they sound like kids at the same time, where they experimented on when they were kids, and so they're keeping that age throughout time, but their skin is just wrinkling up. There's just some lore to that backstory that I want to know. Why are they like that? And why do they need a baby room? Like, they seem like they like have their own coherent thoughts as an adult. And didn't understand the baby room, but hey, it was cool. And then another character, you have Kaori, kind of Tetsuo's, I don't know if they were a thing, but they're considering running away together. She was there at the end when he started turning into the giant flesh monster. She was a notable character. Honestly, don't really have too much to say about her either. And then the last character, the titular role, Akira, who we kind of just saw in flashbacks and in test tubes, I guess. But I really like the lore to the character and how the mystique around Akira as we're building up through the plot. I think like having his body parts preserved in these test tube things was really cool. It makes you think of like, yeah, of course they would preserve this supernatural being. It's kind of like them preserving Einstein's brain. I'm pretty sure that's a thing, right? But it's just a cool way where you think he's going to be like actually a person. They managed to contain this superpower in this giant like metal device this entire time, but no, it's just his remains, which was super cool. And yeah, I guess Tetsuo's ending, we kind of link that Akira was kind of like Tetsuo, caused a giant explosion, caused World War III, and yeah, that was that. That was there's still a lot to the lore that I don't understand, but it's so detailed enough, and I'm picking up enough that I really appreciate what it presents in the movie, and of course, apparently in the manga, it's so much more detailed. I don't know. I don't think I'll get around to reading it. I've never read a manga personally, but yeah, man, the mythology behind the film is so great, and thinking of it coming out in 1988, and yeah, this is what it's come to. It's just aged very well. And you have the cityscapes, which are super nice. Again, I said Blade Runner, and there's that one shot where they have like a hologram girl, and I was just thinking of Anna de Armas from Blade Runner 2049. Yeah, the Neo Tokyo was super cool. It was super destroyed, and we'll kind of lean into kind of the talking about how this is very much a parallels to the atomic bombs that were dropped into Japan. Very obvious parallels, and I think that the post destruction mess that this Neo Tokyo is in is really cool, where everyone feels like, or at least Tetsuo kind of represents the general populace, where he feels like everything is against him and he like can't catch a break. Things like that. In general, it just shows the brutality of superpowers. So you have Tetsuo superpowers kind of comparing to the atomic bombs, and the experimentation on him definitely linking to the experimentation on nukes, and it very much feels like an nuke, anti-bomb narrative. Very, very clearly IMO. Yeah, it's this Tetsuo's journey is very much representative of how the craving of power will lead to self-destruction and destruction of other things. It tells this simple idea that we've heard of many times in such a great and impactful way. And the stuff at the end with like the Big Bang and like the beginning of the universe, they always kind of represent it as like an explosion, and that linking to the atomic bomb is kind of like makes you think that after these explosions, it's always a new beginning. It's always something, you have this Big Bang, which we can call the Big Bang, the Tetsuo's destruction, or the one that started World War III by Akira, or just the atomic bombs in general. They always start, it's always a landmark moment. There's never a moment where a bomb is dropped and it's not like changing the field of whatever it hit forever, right? What was I going to say? Yeah, and Tetsuo being experimented on, Tetsuo is, you kind of have this thing where the experimenter, the person who's doing the experiment, so in this case it would be the colonel and the mad scientist guy, it never feels like they're the ones in power. Because once you've built and experimented on this giant superpower, eventually it's going to get so big, and it's an inevitability that's going to get so big that it's going to be, you're not going to be able to contain it anymore. And it very much felt like, even with the old baby kids, that they kind of just like are narrowly hanging on to power over them. And that the baby kids could have just like turned against them at any point in time, but they just haven't or don't feel the need to at the moment. Yeah, I guess that's another parallel, that once this power has grown so big, you really can't contain it. Man, I want to go deeper into this, but I feel like I haven't read up enough on it or thought about it too much. But yeah, just the themes revolving around destruction and disaster cinema is super cool. Like, I like me a good post-apocalyptic movie, and this feels, I really like, there's so many that are just like about sci-fi, like goop. I don't know the word I'm supposed to use, but like Moonfall. I watched Moonfall recently, and of course that's like destruction. And Roland Emmerich is the perfect example of how, like, yeah, that stuff's fun and everything, but the ones that really get you thinking and that are actually paralleled in real life, like these ones, of course, that are talking about atomic bombs. Yeah, those are so great, and I really need to watch Doctor Strangelove. That's what this movie makes me think. I've never seen it, and I really, really do want to see it, but I've never seen that. Add that to the list of movies Josh has never seen there alongside There Will Be Blood. What else do I want to talk about? Yeah, that's a lot of the crux of the movie. Let me think of any notable moments in the movie that I really liked. Of course, the ending was definitely a highlight with the giant flesh monster, and I really liked how he went to this stadium, but he like sat on a throne before he started doing everything. It was a very cool image. Yeah, the stuff with the motorcycles at the beginning were super awesome. It's a great movie, and I don't think I have too much more to say about the plot. I just want to talk a few more things about the behind the scenes things. I watched a couple videos and looked up a few articles that they use pre-score dialogue, so the dialogue before animation, which is unusual for anime. Um, I'm sure so many people have seen like Disney productions where you have the voice actors in the booth, and they're freely doing their stuff. They're freely doing their stuff. They're freely doing their voice acting, and then they match the animation to it after, which is how this movie was made. But that is very much not the case, and still not the case with anime. Personally, that's just like I've never animated anime before, but it seems like it is a more difficult process, but it definitely seems worth it in the end because the voice acting is such a it is still such a performance driven art form that you can do so much with these voices, and that's the reason why so many of these characters in Disney animations can come to life. And I don't know, it's just very happy they did it with this movie, and it seems like so many of the ways that they could have cut corners they didn't, whereas they used 24 frames a second, right? Whereas a lot of anime, they can use these still images to kind of linger on for a while, or they use less frames per second. But this one, all hand drawn from my research, it seemed like, so, which was, yeah, seemed crazy. It's like over 2 hour movies, and the dedication just was unreal. And when they were making the movie, they made this Akira committee, it was so called, and it was just a bunch of partnerships between several Japanese production companies or production studios, and that's how this movie got made. And it just seemed like they knew when they were making this movie that it was going to be a big thing, and they just put so much love into it. And yeah, just huge props to that. They made a great movie. Yeah, I don't know if I have too much else to say about this film, but in general, I absolutely loved it. This is like, I wish I had watched it like during my childhood. I think it definitely would have been a landmark because it ticks off all the boxes that I love. The post-apocalyptic, the connections to real life, the sci-fi. Oh, it was a beautiful movie, and everybody should go watch it. And yeah, I'm excited just to think more about it. I think I'm definitely gonna revisit this and like share it with, if I meet, this is gonna be a movie where it's like, oh, you haven't seen Akira? I'm definitely gonna be that guy now. Get people to watch it. One other note that I wrote down was that since 2002, Warner Bros. They've been trying to make a live action remake. It's apparently gone through several directors, and the latest director was Taika Waititi back in 2017, but they delayed it because he's doing so many other like Marvel projects and everything. So it might happen still. I kind of like don't want it to happen, where it's like so many remakes, especially Disney remakes. I hate all of the live action Disney remakes. The only one that I can tolerate is like The Jungle Book. They're so pointless. They think they want to reach a bigger audience with this animation, that people are going to connect to it more. It's the real life is, yeah, people love that, but like the animation's just, every time the animation still holds up, especially with this movie, that it just doesn't need to happen. I don't need to see a live action Akira. I really don't. That's my piece. Don't like these live action remakes very much. Alas. On Letterboxd, I gave it a 4.5. Again, Letterboxd reviews never matter. This could easily be a 5. I might even move it up, but yeah, I would recommend everybody seeing this film. Akira was absolutely amazing, and all-time great anime movie that I've seen. I feel like most of my exposure to anime movies have been within the past maybe 2-3 years. And I gotta say, yeah, this is probably number one. Beside, like, Nausicaa, I love. I also do love Castle in the Sky. But yeah, just Spirited Away, of course. But, man, if you have any recommendations for other ones, very much like to hear them. I have been planning on watching My Neighbor Totoro very soon. But what I mean, like, if there's any other movies kind of like Akira, I would definitely love to see those as well. So, next week. Next week is April 25th. Oh, on this calendar it says it's St. George's Day in Newfoundland. Okay. Thank you, Apple Calendar. Now I know it's St. George's Day in Newfoundland next week. But yeah, next week I had a couple movies in mind, and I'm still not quite sure. I think that the movie I am going to choose is Definitely smaller, and a lot less people have seen it. Here, let me pull it up on IMDb here. It is by the same creators who are behind Moon Knight, a couple of them. Their names are Aaron Moorhead, Justin Benson. Did I get that backwards? No, I think I got that the right way. But they're filmmakers that I really, really love. Their movie... What is it? No, not... How am I forgetting this movie? Oh, man. Oh. It's The Something. The Endless. That's a great movie. So their movie The Endless I really loved, and I watched, I think, a couple years ago. Been a fan of them ever since, and if you remember that they are on my most anticipated movies of the year at number 2 with their movie Something in the Dirt that premiered at, I believe, Sundance last year. So the movie I am choosing from them is called Resolution, made in 2012, low-budget sci-fi. I haven't done a low-budget sci-fi in a while, okay? Been since, like, what, Coherence. I gotta do another low-budget sci-fi. So this is gonna be it. I don't even know if it's sci-fi, actually, but I just know them as the low-budget sci-fi guys because they've done The Endless. They did a movie called Synchronic with Anthony Mackie and who else? Jamie Dorian. And now they're doing this movie at Sundance called Something in the Dirt. And I like their style. I respect them very much because it's definitely something that I'm just very much would love to do. So this movie, I don't think it was terribly big. Let's see how many IMDb. It has 17K ratings on IMDb. Not very long. And it is on the streaming service Tubi, which is how I watched Akira. And so Tubi is... Here, let me just look at my list on Tubi. So Tubi is a streaming service that's free, but you can watch with ads, and I just found about it recently. So as you can see in the corner of the screen, Resolution is right there. But these are just some that I put on my list. Got some Bong Joon-ho. Blade, never seen it. They have a lot of good Asian cinema, it seems like. Time Crimes, which another low-budget sci-fi that I'm looking forward to watching. But that's how I'm going to watch it in a way that anybody who's watching this can watch the film Resolution, which I will be talking about next week, April 25th, here at the Film Spot at 7 p.m.